Good turnaround Tuesday, everybody. How are you? You know, now Ziggy. Oh, thanks, Scott. So it took till this morning for me to find out. Ziggy said that I didn't have to stay off the internet to not get the virus. So he knows what a hypochondriac I am. So I stayed off the. Yes, and I had a hard time covering my short May crude. Got out at 0. I didn't know it was going to go to minus 38. Anyway, you have some markets to update you on from when I went down. So you guys remember last week I showed the weekly gold chart showing glaring divergence. And I remember Steve had a number, I believe it was 1734. What did we get up to? 47, close enough for government work. So we didn't quite have a reversal week, but look at that glaring divergence at new highs and barely closed higher on the week. So that's your weekly. Here's your daily. So I don't know if I would chase shorts here. Drill down to some shorter term time frames. Maybe we get a low in here, and I'd sell rallies back to 1710. Okay, I don't think we're going to make a new high. In fact, when I look at it, I can make a case for that. We're kind of in a megaphone. Remember the megaphone that we had in S&Ps? What happened? And I don't know. I'm going to ask Blake if he thinks this was a false breakout here over this 1703 level that, you know, had about 3 days above it to buy the breakout and then just started trading back underneath it. I think it's vulnerable. Silver's more vulnerable. Maybe we'll see what happens on the ratio, but you know, I know it's not a popular narrative, but if we do have a megaphone, you know, there's all kinds of support levels all the way down. But I think what would really cleanse a lot of bullishness out of this gold market would be some type of washout towards 1400. I'd be pretty interested to, maybe physical will only be $200 over spot down here. Maybe it'll temper some of that. I'll buy my Krugerrand for any price over spot. Please, Mr. Gold Schlepper, Mr. Goldman, sell me a Krugerrand. I don't care how much. I know gold's 1700. I'll give you 2500. I need it today. Please let me buy that gold from you today. Anyway, we'll see if the premiums come in. And the other reason I was out, I did a little mountain climbing. Okay, anyone know why I would go mountain climbing here on the coast instead of going to the beach? Because I want to make sure I'm in shape to make it to the top of the summit at the end of the month. So I'm in training for the climb to the summit. It's going to be the event of the year. Steve will post the link, the registration link. What a Peter David Schiff. Wow. CNBC, 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 CNBC. Everyone knows Jamie and Lydia. Steve, huge following. Who's this? Blake. Oh, Blake.
Who the hell invited this guy?
Oh, what? How did
I told you that the list of guests you sent me was rotten. Some of them I haven't even heard of, like this Blake Morrow guy.
Yeah, I mean, he must be fronting the band. Anyway, Adam's going to be here, Peter, Mr. Yusko. So you guys, if you haven't yet, and spread the word. It's free, and you really have some marquee speakers. It should be a great event. And just a couple other things. One other thing I'll cover and turn it over to Blake. I'm not sure if there's any news today, but last week was talking about accumulating EG. Had a couple of trips under the 61.8 level. I think 89 is very doable. And, if you just look at fib retracements from here to here, maybe 90. And, there still is a case that this was one heck of a, I'd call this impulsive. I've never even been this impulsive. Maybe when I was 18. But why can't this be something followed by something like this from down here? So, it's not that you're late. Yeah, you didn't buy the low, but it's probably a better trade now because now you have confirmation. The level that was very key was right here, 87.40. So that's where you're wrong, under 87.40. I think that's one thing I may have been wrong about, is rates. I would have expected with this S&P rally that we would have had a breakdown in TLT and yields going up, but it just keeps playing with this range between 61.8 and 78.6, and the 10-year went to 60. And it still is a higher low, but you're right. If this is the beginning of the S&Ps correcting to the downside in a big way, I'm not going to argue that yields could fall, but I still think it's the most contrarian trade on the board. And, people are pretty bearish, and, crude falling apart, and we're still not at new lows. Looks like we filled some gaps here in the 10-year. Here's your 30-year. Wow, must be something going on right now. It's the S&P sell-off. So we're still not at new lows, but maybe we are going under 80 in the 30-year. I haven't given up, like, what I recommended to you guys, and, it hasn't been that difficult to sit with TBT. I'm down 15 cents on the position. I bought it in here and had a little money made, and now it's down here. And could it wash out here to 1450? Yeah. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to get stopped. I'm not going to stop myself out here. I'm going to watch the RSI and see if on multiple time frames it holds above 30 and add another piece. So great to be back with you guys. I'm not the type of guy that likes to sit around, be isolated in my house, and then lose my internet. And then I lost my movie channels, and I hit all my razor blades.
What did you do? What did you do?
It was
I mean, what do you do?
I just be me.
No,
what a great job.
Did you play like Monopoly against yourself or something?
Oh,
what do you do?
I watched the ticker of COVID cases and deaths. It was the only live quotes I had.
Oh man, that's awesome.
No, let me ask you something, Blake.
Yeah,
Isn't there something wrong with our world that they have like a live ticker up for cases and deaths, like the death clock? I mean, couldn't they just, like in the old days, or like Italy did, well, this is what happened today, instead of having real-time quotes on the virus?
I mean, well, you can't. I mean, I don't know. It's a crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy world we live in, man. So I'm starting. I don't want to get too deep into the woods here, but I look around at obviously I wake up every morning and I think, man, am I living in bizarro world? What is going on here? And but more importantly, it's like we're as a world, we're really grappling with a serious issue. And what actually is quite shocking to me is the amount of protests in the United States. And it's not. I understand people want to go back to work, and I understand when it's like, dude, I gotta put food on the table, and so I need to go back to work. I get that. what I don't get is the people that are like, this is made up by the media and this isn't real. And I think maybe you and I and everybody else that's listening in here is a little bit more sensitive than the average person. And I say that because we're in touch with what's happening globally. And that's, the difference between when I'm talking to somebody, let's just say randomly in my neighborhood, because you see a lot of people that you normally don't see because you're out on your bikes. And, for us, the it's getting hot now, but it's been nice recently. So
people have a hunger to be around other people right now because they
can't. So you just end up talking to a lot of people and they're like, and a lot of people are like, well, I don't get it. This is ridiculous. And I'm like, I work with my office is in Greenwich, Connecticut, and those guys are connected to everybody in the city. If this was a normal seasonal flu, you don't have overrun hospitals, not only in New York, but everywhere else. And you don't have, freezer trucks or refrigerated trucks pulled up to hospitals to throw, carcass dead bodies in, it's just not normal. You know what I mean? It's not. So it's obviously a very serious issue. And like I said, those of us in the financial industry or and traders, and you may say, well, I just trade from home, but you're more sensitive to everything that's happening globally because you guys all at home are connected to what's happening on Twitter. So for people not to, I don't know, it's a crazy world we live in. But what's even crazier right now is probably the markets. And I like I said, I don't want to get too deep in the woods, but I want to talk about what's happening here in the markets. Yeah, and so let me first of all just say I was long the dollar. I was long the dollar Canadian overnight as we broke out of this triangle here. You can see at this 141. I was long at like 141.30. And I was, in the trade from, as the market closed, and I sold it this morning at 142.60 something as we hit the 50% retracement. Now we're coming off, and I have to say that you have to be really careful being short crude. Now, Dale, you missed the mayhem yesterday, so let me just,
crude.
Dude, this is nuts.
I know.
So this is Bloomberg here, and you can see I have crude. Let me get rid of the Bloomberg dollar index really quick. You can see CL. You'll be able to see it today. This is the generic contract, and this is this is from today, but you can see it's negative $4. It was negative 40 yesterday.
Yeah.
The front month contract was just getting clobbered because no one wanted to take delivery. There's too much. That's the thing is when you're trading these crude oil contracts, you have to take delivery before it expires. So there's like no storage anywhere. No one wants to take delivery, and the longs just got demolished. And the market pressed them because they knew you're not going to take delivery. There's nowhere to put crude, even if you wanted to take delivery. So they just pressed it short. Now the CLM, this is the June contract. You can see the June contract yesterday was really trading around the $22, $21 level and didn't move much because, everybody's like, yeah, that's the front month. We know who's getting clobbered over there, but anybody who's looking at crude right now based on, global demand, blah, 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 blah. This is what we're all trading off of. So here's your June contract. Now, June contract came under pressure today. Now, notice that we traded all the way down to $12, below $12. That is important to know because this, to me, was a shakeout. Now, the question is, do you want to be long crude? I think it's a scary proposition to be long crude, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be short. And let me tell you the reason why. The price action here is very reminiscent of and I wasn't watching it last night because I was asleep. This is like a capitulation type of move. Also, daily sentiment index is at 3. So your DSI is extreme.
It narrowed the spread a little bit. But Blake, don't you
Oh.
think I've never seen a negative print in
No, this
crude.
was unprecedented. It was
Yeah,
crazy. I
it's
mean,
like what I said. Who's ever traded a pandemic before? No one I know, and I'm pretty
no,
old, right?
it's nuts.
So,
And you know, the thing is it is very much, if you're not in the industry, meaning, and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about, like, you talk to people that aren't in the markets, they go, oh my God, how did crude prices go negative? They don't understand what was actually happening behind the scenes. So, but you guys all know that that was just a product of, uh, the front month contract rolling and whatnot. So it was just crazy moves. Anyway, so because I knew that crude was probably going to have a knock-on effect, I actually was long the dollar Canadian overnight. Like I said, I sold it like near the highs. I sold it right at 60, and I'm happy I got out of it. Now, I do think that crude might find some support down here, or excuse me, the dollar Canadian, and that support will probably be right around here, like at the 41.50, somewhere around here. This is the 38% retracement. Because, like I said, I wouldn't want to be long or short crude, but I don't know if I'd really want to be long either. So, I think kind of leaving it alone and seeing how it trades here is going to be pretty important. The reason why I don't necessarily want to be short is I do think that the stock market is near really key support. This is the 2750 level. If you guys watch the week ahead video, if staying up to, on the analysis here at the FACE webinar, you know that this is all very key support. We are below the trend line. That's important to know. But it also is Tuesday. Markets aggressively short. We have a lot of, if you guys haven't been to, let me just say here. This is the ForexAnalytix chat room. All right. Right now there's 105 of us online here. And you can see we're all just chit-chatting about everything and what's going on. And one of our trader in here, I'll put you guys on Jumbotron. You guys, those of you that are listening in, are probably noting that you're on Jumbotron. There you go. Greg, who is in the UK, he was like, 93% of the traders for the brokerage firm that he uses is short S&Ps. That's scary because that's just showing us that retail is really short. And those of us in the United States don't have those types of sentiment readings with our brokers, but if you're in Europe, some of you do, and I know Amanda right there, she does too. And there's a lot of people that are long S&P, or excuse me, short S&Ps, which makes me a little nervous about the short side here. Look, I think that I think the stock market's going down. Let me just preface that. I think we're eventually going lower. I think this is whoops, I didn't want to do that. I think the S&P is going to break. Dang it, I didn't want to do that either. I'm just trying to. There we go. I think the S&P is going to break down. I just don't think this is necessarily the moment where it's going to break. It's pretty important, the support here. So I think we're probably going to do one of these where we bounce around a little bit, off of some support, and then eventually roll over. Now I may be wrong. Maybe we just go into full on, market getting blasted mode. But I think it's such important support that I think that we're going to bounce around a little bit. Now, I want to show you a currency that I think is a currency pair that I think is at very, very, well, let me ask you this, critical support. Let me ask you if there's a currency pair that you know of that is at mega, mega support right now. I'm going to let's see, you guys in the chat room can answer this question. You guys on the webinar and the chat box can answer this question. Whoops, here, hold on, let me grab the chat room here. You guys can answer live if you guys can think. Jane said Aussie dollar. Gavin said dollar yen. David says Aussie. Scott says Aussie. Olivier says Aussie. Sean says euro. Dom said Salma, which is dollar mex. Kevin got it right. What I was looking at anyway. That doesn't mean that any of you guys are wrong either. I'm just wanted to reference something that I'm specifically looking at. Sean said dollar yen. Atai said pound, the cable. Tom says Aussie and euro dollar. Okay. Thank you guys for all your answers. And let me show you what I'm really, really concerned with right now. Nidish said Mexican peso yen here. Let me put that back up here. The euro yen is what I'm looking at. Very, very important support. Let's go to the weekly chart of the euro yen. Okay. Now, this is extremely important support for the euro yen. Below like this 116, and the poo is going to hit the fan, in my opinion, in this euro yen. Then we're looking at a really big move towards, 113, 111. That all seems very doable to me. Now, the reason why I point this out is because if the stock market bounces today, this is a really great risk reward long here. I mean, look, how many times have we probed down here? You have to imagine too, and let me move this thing out of the way. Here's your candles, right? You can see all your candles here. You have to imagine at one point, and I have to draw this out for you guys. It makes it easier if I can just draw it for you. Where are my, oh, here we go. Annotate, format, red, draw, line. Okay. So you have to imagine at one point, that's not what I wanted to do, but that's all right. You guys can get the picture here. These candles were blood red going right into this support, right? And you can see by the end of the day, they closed with a long wick, right? Just kind of like what we're seeing right here, It's red and it's blood red. But by the end of the day, we close higher, and then you got a wick, and then then the pair bounced. So there's still a lot of time left in today. Obviously, if it was 10 hours from now and we are down here, I'd be singing in a different tune. But because we're this time of the session, I'm not thoroughly convinced that we're selling off. The reason why I point this out is because you guys know that the S&P is at really key support. So if we bounce from here, I would expect that the euro yen by the end of the day probably closes closer to 117.70, or 116.70, right? If the S&P breaks down, then the euro yen's probably breaking below 116, and maybe even a lot, then eventually going a lot lower than that. I'm not, and here's the thing, is I'm not a euro bull. I'm more of a euro bear, especially in dollar terms. I would think that the euro dollar is going, towards 106 or 105, with risk aversion. So I think we're actually going lower. I just don't know if we're going lower today. I think we're eventually going lower. That's why, the euro yen, in my opinion, if I was looking to trade this on the short side, I would be looking at this more as a bearish wedge. And what I would try to do is, instead of shorting it here, shorting it up here at 117 for an eventual breakdown. That's the way I really want to approach it. But I know it's at support. I know this stock market's at support. So you guys have to be really careful being too aggressive on the short side down here with that particular pair. Then you see things like, you got things like crude oil that looks, like we might have capitulated lower. We could get a bounce in crude. Again, I'm not an advocate of playing crude on the long side either. I just want to, I sure as hell just wouldn't want to be short right now. I'd be more happy being short crude oil at 20 not short crude oil below 16. That's my my thought process. But anyway, I thought I'd point out the euro yen because I know we are at such major support, and a break below 116 could be quite deadly for this pair. But it's just something that, if we do get a bounce in the stock market, we might get a bounce in the euro yen. There's obviously so many more currencies to look at, but I'm not going to, I'm going to leave it to my colleague, Steve and Stelios, to talk about all these different pairs because there's so many out there that are on the move. But I want to say, if you guys have not signed up for the Trader Summit, you're going to hear a lot about this for the next week because it is in 8 days. Well, it says 7 days and 23 hours. 8 days from today. Make sure you register. It's going to be an amazing event. I mean, usually you have to travel to these events. I've been with companies that have hosted big events with major speakers like this, and they're cool because of what we can do online, and because of the coronavirus. Hey, next best thing we could do is do it online, and you get 40-45 minutes of a speaker. Then you get to ask them questions, and hopefully your questions will get answered. But just a really great group of special speakers. This guy's extra special. He's special looking. Let's just put it that way. Not so special as far as special. He's just, but anyway.
What a handsome guy.
Yeah, no, he's the short bus special.
I was kidding, guy. Blake. You're handsomer standing on your wallet.
All right. Anyway, just you guys.
Ever hear that one? That's what they say to old guys.
No, but I might be. I'm definitely not the youngest one there, but anyway.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys sign up and sign up even if you can't be there, so you can get like recordings of the webinars, that type of thing. So.
Oh, cool. Anyway, we're gonna send them out.
You gotta ask Steve for sure, but I believe that's getting done.
Yeah,
Steve.
Okay.
There's gonna be. What was the question again, Blake?
There are going to be recordings of all the sessions being sent out.
Of course, and there's going to be a post event on the page where they will be able to watch, whatever they've missed or whatever they want to watch later on. So yes, as you very well said, there is a point in registering, even if you cannot, let's say, watch your favorite speaker live, you will then have access to the recorded version. So it's definitely worth it.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, I will, and obviously if you guys are not using ForexAnalytix, make sure you do so and visit our webinar sponsor, Forest Park FX. But if you want to join me in the chat room, that's where I'm at, like 15 hours a day, maybe 12. I was in there last night, even after the 12 hours of being in front of my computer. I jumped in there last night, just kind of, throwing up all these news stories. Because, there's all this news about Kim Jong, getting, is in surgery, and then there's, Trump is going to stop immigration in the United States, and yada yada. There's all that kind of stuff is happening around at night. So anyway, I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the chat room. So Steve, Dale, welcome back. We missed you.
Thanks, buddy.
We did.
Yeah, I know. Good to be back. I have a little hair left.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back. Because you forced me to talk to Steve alone.
Yeah. That was his nightmare.
All right, guys, have a great one. Thank you, and I'll see you guys for those of you that are ForexAnalytix subscribers, I'll see you in the daily roundup webinar 4 hours from now. All right, thanks, guys.
Good luck today, Blake.
Thanks.
Thank you, Blake.
So, morning, guys. Hey, Dale.
Hey,
morning,
how are
Stel.
you? So,
Hey, Coach. I missed you, man. You know it.
it's good to be missed.
Yes.
It's better not to be missed. I mean,
Really?
not to have to miss you.
Oh, all right. Yeah, it's good to be back. Lots of action. So,
Yeah.
is the word that he has passed away, Kim, or what? I heard that this morning.
You couldn't sleep at night, right?
But
I was worried about what kind of night
Data, guys,
both
by the
our
way.
president and
Data,
Dennis
data,
Rodman.
Canadian data.
Yeah.
coming out any second. There seem to be a few seconds delayed. Canadian retail sales, there we go, slightly better.
That's February
but
numbers.
yeah,
February.
yeah, it is. But core retail sales quite a lot lower.
Yeah.
I doubt it that the USD CAD, you can see USD CAD here, is going to respond much. But keep in mind that USD CAD has broken out, so I don't think that any real data would actually reverse it. Anyhow, go on. So we were saying about Kim Jong-un. Yeah, I don't think that we have to lose any sleep on that, right?
Well, apparently this guy is, the information he gives to his people, apparently he's like a demigod, right? He's, some of the things he's done, I read, he claims to have done is to hold his breath for like 35 minutes and to have shot 18 consecutive hole-in-ones in golf. So well done to him.
Of course.
So he can't die apparently. But anyway, no, jokes aside, I don't know what's happening with him.
He's the North Korean Chuck Norris.
Yeah.
So it was a miniature golf course.
Yeah, maybe. So the main event yesterday was oil, like Blake said, and there's so many people who just misunderstand what was happening yesterday, and due to the fact that you cannot, futures. What are futures? They're an agreement to buy or to sell. Actually, you buy futures contract. You agree to buy at a future date a certain amount of quantity of the actual underlying physical item. So
to be delivered to you,
delivered. So
because that's the key point.
Yeah, one futures contract is 1,000 barrels. So
yeah,
you have all these, physical storage is basically gone completely. So there's nowhere to store this. So people know, algos know that you're not going to take delivery. So effectively, yesterday, what people were doing was betting on a number that could settle anywhere, literally anywhere. So there's so many, my guess is there's so many people saying, oh, how much lower can it go? It can't go negative. It can't do this and
it
that.
can go minus 40 because at the end, people were just looking to get rid of their contracts because they knew that if they expired at their hands, that means they actually have to go through the costs of getting that delivered. And something you might not know, guys, is that since there are rules to ensure the quality of the product, either that's gold or crude or whatever, if you get delivered, if you want to sell that back afterwards, let's assume that you have the space to store it, okay? And you get delivered. In order for the crude to be resold back in the market, every barrel has to be tested, officially tested, to ensure that the content is the type of crude that you are actually selling back to the market, which means that not only you need to go through costs of transportation, but you also need to go through the cost of, if you're looking to sell that back afterwards, to, in essence, qualify crude to be sold back, even if you didn't ever open the barrels.
Yeah. So basically what Steve is saying very correctly is the cost in terms of actual money and inconvenience to actually go through that process meant that the price could go negative. I mean, it obviously couldn't go, $10,000 negative, people
Obviously.
paying you, exactly. So people paying you to buy the oil, but to go minus 10, minus 40, minus 100, we saw it happen and it can happen again. So
one more fundamental detail that I wanted to add, Stelio, is that, this was the perfect storm for crude in the short term, because not only what Stelio's just explained happened, but keep in mind that we are under, the very peculiar extreme scenario that many companies that were actually buying future contracts as hedges. For example, an example that pops out of mind, airline companies, right? So when crude goes, rather low, they buy future contracts to, in essence, hedge the price of crude. So traditionally speaking, these are the type of companies that would have absolutely no problem getting the commodity delivered to them. But what has happened recently to companies like that, they have stopped using crude or whatever fuel, I'm speaking in general now. And so they don't even have spare capacity because they've always they always make sure that they stockpile, and then they just stopped having demand for the product. So many companies that were actually using contracts to hedge couldn't even get it delivered because they didn't have spare capacity. So it's it's a double whammy, right, Stelio?
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So this was the main event yesterday, and everybody was talking about oil. It's funny on Twitter, everybody had become an oil expert. But don't be surprised if we get more volatility in the front contract, which is now June, which is a very liquid contract. But still, we saw it today being down 10%, or what is it, or even more. So oil has been very tricky yesterday. Today we're seeing equities following, and go back to yesterday's webinar. We were saying that oil and bonds are painting a very bad picture of the global economy, and equities are whistling away, not caring about it. And I think eventually they're going to catch up. Now, how much lower do we go? I've said it before. I think S&P is probably 2,000 is not out of the question. DAX, I'll be looking at around the low 8,000s where the previous low was, but I think we're perfectly capable of going there again. I personally put in a few bids already, way below in some names and on the DAX, on the index itself, and just waiting for them to be hit if they will be hit.
By the way, Stelio, we have a question from two different people. If this can happen to gold as well, and
yes.
the answer is, theoretically speaking, yes.
I
but
what
what happened yesterday is a great example of the opposite. The exact opposite, at some point, in my opinion, is going to happen to gold. So what you saw yesterday in crude is the exact opposite in what's going to happen to gold at some point. Meaning, a lot of people will actually ask for delivery, and the people that were short these contracts, that the vast majority of which do not own the metal, will have to be running at the last moment to try to find the physical commodity so they can actually deliver it at expiration, or try to buy buy it back so they don't have to deliver. So bottom line, I think that what you saw yesterday in crude reverse it completely, and I think that eventually that is what you're going to see happening with gold and silver.
Yeah, and why can't you get the same thing happening with gold? Because one gold bar is actually much easier to handle.
Exactly.
Right?
There are absolutely no costs. You can store a huge value of gold in a very, very limited space. It's not liquid, so you don't have to have special containers or whatever else. So, for example, $1 million worth of gold, worst case scenario, you can store in a rather very limited space. Right.
You could work out with the stuff. I'd put a silver coin bag on each side of a broomstick and do curls with it.
Yeah.
You ever try? Still, you have lots of silver. You could try.
While to put that in context, let's say $20 crude. With $20, you buy 160 roughly liters of crude. So now compare, with $20, you buy a minor fraction of a dollar of a gold ounce, right?
100th almost,
Yeah, 100th almost of an ounce.
Yeah.
I mean, so we're talking about 0 point something grams of gold. At the same price, you are buying 160 liters, or for those of you that use gallons, I think that's roughly 40 gallons, like 40 gallons of crude. So you understand the huge difference in the ability to store one versus the other, right?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Like we were saying, equities are dropping and they're catching up, and they have quite a bit of catching up to do, in my opinion. I still think we're going to see all-time highs within the next, 12, 18, 24 months. But meanwhile, we're going to have a leg lower, a proper leg lower before. Now, interesting, we had some data today, and we had, out of the UK, we had unemployment claims, which were expected to go from like 10, 20K per month at the usual to 170. and they came in at 12K. So that was a little bit surprising, although it's March, so the full extent was not already out
Depicted,
there.
yeah.
But still, it was, you know, there was an effect already. So that was an interesting, confusing print actually a little bit. But let's see the next month. That's the main one. And now the one that was quite funny, German ZEW. Current conditions and economic sentiment. I don't know if you saw that, Steve, but current conditions came in at minus 91.5, which is an all-time low. Makes sense. And this is for April, by the way. So this is forward-looking, and I think they get the they ask you know, corporations and whoever it is that they get.
Yeah, they have
from.
like a the sample of exactly that they
Yeah,
ask.
and so they ask at the beginning of the month, I think, or something like that, and then they project. So current conditions minus 91.5 makes sense. Economic sentiment, which basically shows what the sentiment is for the 6-month economic outlook going forward. That printed at 28.2 was expected very negative, and it was the best print since middle of 2015. So basically, the market is expecting, yeah, this is really terrible the way things are going, but we're going to be back to normal.
Yeah, it's
within
the
6
worst
months.
conditions we ever had, but everything looks great looking
Yeah.
6 months ahead. Yeah,
It's
okay. Count me
absolutely.
out in subscribing with that.
I really don't get it. I mean, I was looking at that reading. I thought there was a negative sign missing, but it wasn't. And if people really think this, I'm lost for words. I really don't know what to say.
Yeah, I think they will find themselves being, you know, totally wrong. But you know, that's what makes a market, as we say, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Dominic says they should get some vodka for that prediction. You're gonna need it. Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Okay, so time to jump to the charts. We have quite a lot of questions, or is there anything left to mention?
no, that
Celia?
was it. That was it. I left a funny part for the end.
Yeah, it was indeed the icing on the cake. Is that the expression?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Good.
right.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Celia. So we said yesterday. We warned at the end of last week, and we said yesterday that things seem to be rolling over. That's why I reversed my position in the S&P, and for me today is going to be a key day. You can see here why. This is likely a wedge, and we're currently, you know, testing with breaking it down. This is the S&P. If you remember, one of the important pairs I mentioned, metals in this case, I mentioned yesterday was copper, saying that copper looked like it had already run its course in this rebound, and it looked like it's about to roll over and die. There was a small chance to make it to 248, but yesterday specifically I mentioned that I don't think that's going to be the case. And look at copper. It's getting destroyed today, more than 5% lower on the day. I think we can now safely say that this was indeed the formation we were looking for. I mean, a bearish pennant. And, you know, this is a very bearish development. I think that copper is going to attack, you know, sub $2 levels once again. And, you know, we all know what they say about copper, like Dr. Copper, you know, showing, you know, where the economy is pointing, etc., etc. Needless to say that no really big of a need to go through the rest of the indices. Here's the Dow Jones testing this channel. Here is the Nasdaq, you know, much better looking, still not back in the channel, but you know, I think that if S&P breaks through that formation, Nasdaq is going to be following as well. Here is the DAX. You know, even if you want to focus on the short term here in the DAX, so let's go on a 4-hour chart. There is a second formation you can look at here in the DAX. So here is one ascending wedge, but you know, if you want to focus on the shorter term, you can even look at this as a rectangle. There you go. So bottom line, you know, below, what is this, 10,135, let's say. We also trigger this rectangle. So it's not only the wedge we're breaking through, but it's going to be this rectangle as well. Let's take a measured target. There it is. pointing to 9,500. So, you know, any way you look at it, the DAX is in danger of also breaking down from here. In my mind, quite clearly a corrective formation. Look at the prolonged RSI divergence as well. So bottom line, I do think that the indices are turning lower.
Did you reverse, Steve, yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday. I said it on the webinar, actually. I reversed, I took profits on my longs and sold 1/4 of a position, and probably today, if the daily close confirms, I'm going to increase my short position further in the S&P.
So it's one thing to have a plan, and then it's another thing to execute it when it's in front of you. Nice.
Yeah, thank you. You
I
know,
mean, a lot of people can make plans, you know.
I've talked about it before.
Then they cancel plans, you know.
I think making plans in advance gives you an edge in trading.
It's everything.
And that is why I'm, you know, advocating for people to use a trading journal, and that is why we are developing a trading journal, because we consider it to be an extremely powerful tool if used properly for any trader. Helps you immensely. I mean, I can't stress that enough.
You know, it's too bad the men in Wuhan didn't have it, because I heard the divorce rate went sky high because their wives weren't very pleased with their trading performance during the crisis.
Dale, you're back in your regular form.
I just heard they weren't scalping well. So the divorce rate.
Didier is asking a question. Anyone can recommend a good trading platform in Europe? Listen, I'm not going to tell you that because they are our sponsors. Those of you that have followed ForexAnalytix for a long period of time, you know that we only work with companies when we really believe that they offer the same type of value and, you know, straightforward and honest treatment of clients as we do. We work with Forest Park FX, the best introduction broker out there, and they're the people you should talk with. You go to our site, forexanalytix.com, you click on a reimbursement program. There is a button here to live chat on Skype with them or send them an email. I would always go for live chat in any case. I mean, it's much easier to, you know, ask questions, get answers, etc. And they will help you find the best broker. They work with all the big brokerage firms. They will help you make the best decision for your trading style, your location, what you want to trade, etc. Because all those things play a role. I mean, it's a different thing if you're a scalper than being a long-term trader. You care more, for example, about carry costs in one case. You care more about spreads in the other case. You know, depends on what you want to trade, leverage you want to use, you know, you name it. So you speak with them and, you know, they'll get you settled with, you know, the best option, you know, for what suits you. Okay. Okay, Didier, my pleasure. How long do you think copper will go? I think that there is a very good chance that it will print new lows based on this formation, because two people are asking the same question: how long do I, how much or how long do I believe that copper can go? And I believe that we can see lower lows here in copper. Now, I think that's going to also provide eventually a beautiful buying opportunity, as anything that's tangible in essence. But yeah, that's what I think about it. Speaking of which, we also talked about natural gas yesterday. Showed once again the divergences we see between crude and natural gas. And I think that's another thing you should pay attention to. I keep insisting, and I will keep insisting, that I think that, you know, all the bloodbath you see here in crude is scaring people away, which is great, because I believe that we're not far away from seeing crude finding a low and starting a huge rally from there. Now, obviously, the first step for that to happen will be OPEC coming through the headlines again, this time determined to go through much, much bigger cuts. So I'm pretty sure that the catalyst for the first rebound is going to be that OPEC realizing that, you know, the previous attempt was, you know, very underwhelming, and, you know, going for, you know, swinging for something much, much bigger. So that's what I think about it. Now, we also mentioned yesterday that gold and silver look like they want to, you know, turn lower and, you know, move much lower initially, because, you know, my long-term thesis remains what it is. And we're seeing confirmation. Gold is breaking through that trend line today. Silver is plunging after breaking through this channel. I mean, we kept saying that silver should find an interim top anywhere between $15 and $16, and that's what it did. And I have to say that it looks really bad at the moment. Needless to say, I'm really, you know, ecstatic about it. I really want to see silver especially getting destroyed as crude is, because I really want to buy some physical silver at much lower prices. I don't have any physical silver.
Isn't it a possible scenario that we get a retrace of this first rally and then head up again?
It is. It is very likely. I mean,
You know,
for
maybe
example,
back to 12, like back to 13, and then make
1380 is going to be support for sure. I want to see what
Okay.
happens from there.
That
But
looks like
you know,
about 38% or something.
my secret dream is
I know, $9.
is seeing single digit silver.
Yeah.
Can we do that, please? I mean,
Minus $28.
Trust me, there's not going to be any left at $9 to go to
What do you think
minus.
the premium will be over spot when it's 9?
I think the premium is going to be lower, actually, which is going to make it even more appealing.
That's what I mean. So
yeah, I think the premium, if
okay.
we go
That'll
down
be a
to
sign
9,
of a bottom.
might be close to
buck.
0.
That'd be great.
Or close to 0, and that's when I'm going to be very interested in buying a lot of it, because, you know, I have physical gold, but I don't have physical silver, and I think this is a mistake I should really correct.
Yeah.
So we covered the metals. We had quite a few questions about FX, so let's switch a little bit to FX. Okay, Aussie, Kiwi. I mentioned Aussie and Kiwi yesterday, saying that both of them seem like they've likely found a high, and, you know, we see that 61.8 rejected, and we're continuing lower today. Look at the Kiwi specifically yesterday, word to word. I mentioned, guys, if you remember, that selling, and I think that especially Kiwi was near the highs of the day yesterday during the webinar. I said that the risk reward is extremely favorable, selling against the previous highs. And look at this beautiful morning star formation that we're building here on the daily chart. So I do think that, you know, we're headed lower from here. There is a question about Aussie CAD. So Aussie CAD, I still think this is probably a corrective bounce, but in all honesty, I mean, there are things that are moving much better. Why would you specifically want to trade Aussie CAD? I mean, in comparison to others, or Kiwi CAD, here they go. I mean, they can both roll over and move lower from here. So if I had to be something, I would be short instead of long. But in my opinion, you know, there are better opportunities out there. So, you know, that's that. USDZAR, actually, we had a question about USDZAR yesterday, and I completely forgot to cover it. So I'm going to do this now. USDZAR, where is it? Here it is. So, unsurprisingly, breaking out from this triangle, and in my mind, on its way to new highs, which is great, because I did expect exotic currencies to drop even lower against the dollar, but I seriously believe that there is a very good chance that the next high might be an excellent selling opportunity for a much bigger move to the downside. So here is USD-ZAR. Here is USD versus the Turkish lira. I would be much more skeptical with the Turkish lira for various geopolitical reasons, but in any case. Here is the USD ruble breaking through as expected, breaking through this descending channel. So this is definitely a bullish development. By the way, US debt to GDP is completely going vertical. Completely going vertical. I mean, it's not the percentage so much. Current US debt to GDP should be somewhere in the vicinity of 110%, which doesn't sound that excessive, but the rate at which it is currently increasing, trust me, 110% is such a short-term stop that it doesn't even matter. As I said the other day, expectations for this year deficit, and that does not include the off-budget items, which we know are a huge percentage, is expected to be 3.8 trillion. So as you understand, the US debt to GDP is going to explode higher. Why am I saying that after having a look at USD ruble? Dale, do you know what the debt to GDP of Russia is? With crude oil having in general suffered most of the time during the past several years, during the past 4 or 5 years. What is their debt to GDP?
I don't know, about 100%.
17%.
Wow.
They have
well
something
managed.
like 200 and something billion dollars of debt.
Wow.
Full stop. That's it. So, be my guest. Buy USD ruble thinking it's going to go to 100, but you don't mind me taking the other side of this market. Not yet, but really soon. And especially from a central bank that's going to be paying very, very well to hold their currency. So I think that USD ruble is going to be an amazing shorting opportunity if you're looking for exotic currencies. And you're even going to get paid heftily to hold this position. So, this is one of the long-term trades I'm really going to be taking during the next few months.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, I just found my.
Yeah, I see her.
Yes,
She just
yeah.
wrote. Yeah. So we still have 2-3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Aussie
You
Kiwi.
didn't hear the E chord yet, did you?
Nope, I didn't. You're absolutely right about it.
All right.
So here is Aussie Kiwi. Now, I actually expected that Aussie Kiwi would this time break through parity. And by this time, I mean, a few weeks ago when we were testing parity, I really believe that this time is going to break through. Amanda, I remember, really believed in a rebound. I believe this time we're going to slice through. Amanda was right on this one, and I was definitely wrong. I had no position. So, I was wrong, but didn't lose anything. To be honest, I really don't want to take positions in pairs that, I really, in the vast majority of the cases, don't find any reason why you should be short or long very similar currencies, betting which one will, besides fundamentals being equivalent, which one will underperform or overperform. So this is, in general, a pair that I would very rarely take a position into. We've bounced from parity, and we're back in this previous channel. So I have to say that, so far the rebound doesn't look impulsive to me, but we broke through retesting these channels, trend line support as resistance. So I guess anything can happen. I can tell you as a fact that 1036 is going to be strong support. So I would totally understand why somebody would want to buy a retest of 1036 for a continuation higher. Other than that, as I said, I'm really not ecstatic about trading, anything like the Aussie Kiwi. But whatever makes you tick. If you think you have an edge, if you think you can really trade that, successfully, do it. Against parity, certainly there is a case for upside. We haven't managed to break through parity. So yeah, risk reward is, is there. Depends on your time horizon, of course. But if you want to buy in the short term, as I said, you'd rather wait for a retest of 1036. I think that's going to be a better buying opportunity if you're really looking to be on the long side. USD MXN, if you remember, I said that once a risk sours, probably this is going to prove to be a triangle that breaks to the upside, produces one more high, and then lower. There is a little bit, I wrote that extensively in the weekend analysis. I wrote that I'm a little bit troubled by the fact that, typically speaking, this is not a triangle because we had that spike higher to new highs. So, typically speaking, this might not be a triangle at all. We might have
it'll be a three drive.
Yeah, or we might have already seen the high. So bottom line,
Nah, it's incomplete.
I would still favor another move to the upside. So I agree with you, Dale, but keep in mind that technically speaking, there is a chance that this was a high.
Yeah.
So, I'm a little bit skeptical. So let's put a line in the sand here and say that this 23.22, the previous swing low, is a key level. You can be bullish and long against it. But if we drop below it, you should be really careful because we might be headed a lot lower. If we are to see a new high in USD MXN, this is the occasion. I mean, if risk indeed keeps moving lower in the days ahead, USD MXN should follow through and produce more upside. So, interview time.
It is.
Enjoy the interview. Nice to have interviews again now that you're back.
It's my thing, man.
Yeah.
Steve, I could go both ways on a mic.
I hope only on a mic.
Anyway, all right. So, okay, Sancheda, I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm going to get you set up and you're going to help me. Thank you, Steve.
Pound, Euro, USD, questions about them.
Go
Listen, I forgot to mention something important. Euro Pound has broken through a descending wedge. So I don't have time to cover now Euro and Pound, but I forgot completely to mention Euro Pound has broken to the upside. So watch out, Euro Pound seems to be turning higher, and I think there's going to be follow through. I'm going to show that tomorrow. Thank you, Coach.
I agree. I showed it at the beginning. 89.
Sorry, I lost the first couple of minutes actually.
Oh yeah. So anyway, and talked about it last week too. Aren't you long already? Come on. Anyway.
No, I'm not actually.
Not you. Whoever's asking about it.
No, you know something? I would have actually bought it.
Yeah.
But I'm trading quite a few other stuff these days, and I completely lost it from my eyesight. I mean, I forgot to check it. You know what I mean?
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I don't know. You have old timers.
I know.
Timers. All right. So I'm going to get ready to work with Sanchita here. I'm unmuting you. Welcome to Face.
Hi, Dale. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Yes, it's Sanchita.
Sanchita. What a pleasure to meet you.
Where are you from?
I'm from India. I'm from the northeast part of India, but I live here in UK, in London.
Yeah, it sounds from your accent. I mean, you have a very clear accent.
Is it?
Yeah, it is great.
Thank you so much for, this is great. I just wanted to say, you guys are amazing. Dale, Blake, Steve, Amanda, Greg, the whole team.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for the service. Yes.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm glad you drop into Face and check it out every once in a while or watch the videos.
Yes, I do. And I remember you had approached me, I think to be in 3 years ago, but I was, I just chickened out. I said, no, I was in that zone where, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm slowly coming out of
well, good to, good to be here to see you stretch yourself and do it, because you know what? I have learned that when we communicate our ideas to other people, we actually fine-tune it for ourselves and also tend to put out our best stuff because we do it with, care and precision and try and be as spot on as possible. So are we looking at your, did you want to share your screen, Sanchita?
if you want to, but I don't have
I'm going to
much
stop
to
sharing
say.
mine so you can share
Okay.
yours. There is a green
Okay.
button saying share screen.
Yeah,
So click
so
on
at least
that.
you could show your blog site or something. It's a, I don't know if you've used Zoom before, but it's a little green box with a ship in
Yeah,
there,
she found
so.
it. There we go.
All right, so before we get to the markets,
Yeah, sure,
it's
go
always very interesting to me to hear how people ended up in this industry and what people may have been mentors to you, or important books that you wrote, or are you
Read.
self-taught?
Yeah.
How did it start for you?
Oh yeah, just trading or just
Trading or getting involved in the markets, being aware of them and wanting to learn how to exploit them.
Yeah, I've been. I started my first trade. I put my first trade in 2010. I think that was kind of. I went to a seminar.
Mhm.
And it was a property seminar, funny enough, and then there was a small thing about wealth. But I always wanted to. I was always interested in the currency market, not stock, because I learned about. I did a bachelor's in commerce, so I did have stocks, and I didn't like that when I was doing in college. I didn't like that, but I was very interested in the forex market. So yeah, when I went there to the seminar, I was like, oh yes, I know that. I wanted to do that. So that's it. I did a 2-day course on Forex, and I thought, I nailed it.
Yeah,
so
right.
it was a start. It was a humble start for me, and then from there I just didn't give up. I think I just carried on. I failed and failed and failed and failed more, and I'm still here. So I
Yeah,
love the markets, and the market has actually bruised and battered me. And from the person, from the she woman or the he man, as you think you are, and it has just humbled me to the ground. And it's nice to be here, and it's nice to be with people like you, because I've been around so much, and I've done so many courses and so many things that I know what to do, what not to do. And at some point you understand that. You know what I mean? There's a lot.
Well, the first part of every trader's journey is learning to be a survivor. So and because a lot of and being a survivor doesn't mean that you didn't have negative experiences like blowing up accounts. Most people I know have blown up at least one.
Oh yes.
So I've exceeded that number. So why don't you tell us about what you're focused on now? I see you have the NASDAQ. Do you like trading stock indices? And maybe you could explain to us what you have down there. Are they GAN numbers, 1, 9, 17?
No, I'm
what
a
are
Ichimoku.
Okay.
I'm a NASDAQ girl, but I like my Ichimoku. So these are the Ichimoku numbers. It has touched.
Okay. I've never seen them expressed this way. You always see the clouds,
because this is I have the clouds too. Where is it? This is a bit little. I was told a little advanced. It just falls on those lines, but
Anyone teach you how to use this?
As I said, my husband says I'm a course junkie because I just love learning about the markets and I like to implement it.
Okay.
And so there you go. So so this is so you start with the lowest fractal level, and then you go all the way. You place it out there to the far, and from there, every number the market kind of turns either way. It has, and it's given like 1 or 1 day either side of the number. You'll see some kind of changes. But if I see the fib lines, it has touched. I like NASDAQ because it moves.
Yeah.
And it also, it's already done 50%. It's up, tested up there, and then it's again touching a very major fib level.
What's your next number between 17 and 26? Does it forecast direction or just a turning point when it gets there?
No, these are Dale. These are thing numbers. They're not numbers. They're days.
Days. Oh, okay. All right. Number of days. Okay.
Mhm.
Why
So
do
the
you
ninth
select those?
day
Okay. I could
is
understand
17.
certain numbers, but how, and you're saying these are
These are
Ichimoku
numbers
numbers?
from, yeah, Ichimoku numbers. I haven't done those. I'm not, intelligent enough to do that. I just
That,
follow it.
it's interesting. So, were you in a position to write it down or write it back up, or were there any signals, or were you feeling? Because I know I was short near the top, but I certainly, for me, and I'm curious for you. In fact, sometimes I ask myself why I even have objectives because I'm rarely there for my final target. So it's one thing to be a good analyst and make a good call. It's
Yeah.
better to even execute that idea and make a trade. But for me, the most difficult part is a good hold and
Yes.
staying with a trade. Do you have any kind of issues with that or a technique that you could mentor me about how to stay in the
Mentor you.
position longer?
I usually trade. I usually do. I do day trading on that. I don't do long term on Nasdaq. I do swing trades on Forex. That's how I
Okay.
started. But I just take little amounts from Nasdaq. I
Okay.
overnight trades.
And this is, but you don't day trade NASDAQ off a daily, do you? You probably
No,
drill down.
no.
So
So
show us
and
what you use when you're trading NASDAQ.
I do that. I have my levels, like, I like my support and resistance. So I start on, if I say have Ichimoku there in this
Yeah.
one, on that, only the days I use that for, okay, is it a long day or a short day for me? I use those lines for that. And also the Ichimoku also tells me if it's a long day or a short day on a 4-hourly. And then on an hourly,
How does it tell you
basically,
that? How does it tell you that?
oh, Ichimoku is
Just by
simple. Like, so
crossing?
I take the crosses, but also the
Okay.
cloud. The cloud
Yeah.
itself is a huge one. And then I like Ichimoku because, and I think Ichimoku is very good as far as, the beginners are concerned. Because there's a lot of support levels that you do not have to, in the beginning, you don't know where is the support, where is the resistance. So, the TK cross will tell you, and you can put your, your stop loss here. You can put your stop loss
Right.
in the, span B. So these are really nice, it's already there. I know it looks a bit busy, but it's just getting used to it.
Okay. Who taught you this?
A chaos trader. Chaos trader.
Chaos trader. I'm not
He's
sure.
Carl. He's I think he's one of the, I mean, there's a lot of people who does Ichimoku, but as a teacher, I think he's one of the best. Yes.
Okay.
He's a
Well,
teacher, because a lot of people know it, but teaching is a different thing altogether, if you know what I mean.
I do
There's
know.
a lot of patience. Yeah, of course, you are one.
You have to be very patient.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I'm not always. There's a Van Morrison song called "Why Do I Always Have to Explain?" Over and over again. But yeah, it's also very rewarding to see people get it and then begin to outperform you. So
I started coaching in 2013, and that was like, because I had the blog. I was so bored. I just got the blog out, forexdiva.co.uk. If you guys, and then from there, a lot of people said that, come on, can you teach me? And I'm like, me, I am still learning. What will I teach you? But then, and then they said that, can you just teach me basics? Yeah, basics I can. That's all right. And but I was not ready for coaching, so I just stopped there. But I think now I've found my purpose. I do want to share, and now because of this whole, we are in dead man's land, so this whole thing is so grim and whatever. And I think that, okay, fine. What's the worst thing if I die before that? How do I contribute to the world, to the society?
Okay.
So you feel like the purpose has suddenly arrived now. So I think I've started now. I'm doing a workshop, in fact, on that, on how to trade the currency market.
Okay. In fact, before we go off the air, I'm going to give you some time to show people how to find you, and you could talk about that event. Anything in the Forex arena that has your attention right now?
I did this in today because I just saw the German ZEW number and the oil front contracts. It continued to fail, so I just did EuroCAD, and it was above the 20-moving average. So that was nice. So that's a stop loss in there. So
and these you swing trade.
Yes, these are
do you do multiples? Do you do multiples so you could take partial profits when things are working?
Yes. Multiples meaning?
Multiple, like instead of doing one full size contract, maybe do 2.5s or 3.3s.
I half my trade and then let the other half flow. Is that what you mean? I do that. Yes.
Yeah.
I do that on NASDAQ.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So that's how you're scalping. Okay. And I'd be interested in any type of, what's the view? You're in the UK right now.
Oh gosh.
Do you have a view on this pandemic as far as it being, I know it's, not unprecedented. It happened 100 years ago, but I don't think we've ever shut the whole world down like this. You have any views on the outlook and whether you have confidence that governments are going to be able to hold this ball of wax together, and do you think that they're going to keep the game open and trading open? Because they've come in, a lot of markets are doing things they really haven't done in a long time. Credit markets being intervened by the Fed. What crude did yesterday, I've never seen in my lifetime. Some of the candles that you look at in gold, the last few weeks, they look irregular to me, like liquidity isn't as good. Spreads are pretty wide. You have a view on what's happening in the financial world now, and what you think, how we're going to come out of this? Or is this going to be long, drawn out, protracted problem?
Yes, it is going to be long because it takes, it's market cycle, so it'll take about 10 years minimum, at least. But I tend to be a bit positive. Otherwise,
I'm glad you're here today. All right, let's go. All right, so really, it's refreshing. Tell us what you're positive about.
I just like this environment. That's that is the way I am as a person.
Okay.
It just
we're opposites.
Is it?
I've been called Negative Ned. I was telling people about to get prepared for this virus, and how many people said to me, "Oh, you're paranoid, Dale. You're always so optimistic. You're always so negative." Yeah. And anyway, so positive is your nature.
Yes.
So,
and I think with adequate, your preparation is key. Anything you prepare it, and then you have your own, say for example, in trade, you have your stop loss, and that is your level. Once you have a stop loss, you know what you're going to lose. After that, you don't have to worry because you have already decided on what the amount you want to lose. And then it's not in our hands anymore. You just have to live it up and then go, to your garden or play with the kids and, do whatever you want, but not look at a trade. That way, I think at the moment, we don't know what's going to happen. So we just have to take one day at a time. And then you do the homeschooling and, the whole household work and trade. And there's already a lot. And then watch some silly comedy movie. Just
that's
to,
a great
relax.
idea. So when you put a trade on and your stop is in, do you walk away from your trading station?
Yes.
And just let the market, because do you find it hard to sit while you're watching it?
Yes, because I'll be messing with stop loss after that, or I'll be saying, okay, now I need more. So the market runs, or trading psychology, it's like fear and greed. These two things run the market. So if we can control that, my main, trading has taught me a lot about myself as a person. So I feel that we need to, it's still work in progress. I think till I die, it'll be work in progress. But you learn every day, and then they love talking with you and, you know, other people. I don't know why we have such a close community. I'm in that thing, like, you know, we need to talk, we need to connect, we need more communal, you know, because otherwise trading is a very, very closed net business, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great to have a community and people to collaborate with. So
yes. Together is better.
Yeah, 1 + 1 can equal 11. Right? So this is where people could find you if they went to www.forexdiva.com.
Yeah, it's forexdiva.co.uk. I'm from UK.
Okay.
So
okay.
ForexDiva, http, you know, /forexdiva.co.uk. And once they download that, then they go to my Facebook group, because in Twitter, I cannot just handle the messages that I get. So I get them to ask the questions in my Forex group, and my Facebook group. So that will take you, once you download that, I'll take you to the Facebook group, Facebook group. And then I nurture them there.
Well, like it or not, you're now my trading warrior sister.
Oh,
and you know, I hope that you and your loved ones remain untouched, and that pips rain down on you, and everyone you teach prospers, and appreciate that you're a warrior and have had the perseverance to be in the business and hang in there and still be passionate about it. And congratulations on being interviewed by Dale Pinkert.
Oh, thank you. The pleasure is mine. And, you know, to be, to be in front of all you guys, you are wonderful, amazing people. Keep doing the good job. Well done. And thank you.
And you could find Sanchada here at Forex Pro Diva on Twitter.
You know what, my colleagues in UK, the one from, you know, SDA, where I've, you know, qualified. I didn't even know that you can qualify, you know, as an analyst. So they call me Bublé, which is like Michael Bublé, you know, the singer.
Oh, Michael Bublé.
Yeah, they call me Bublé because that's my pet name, because it's Sanchita S.B. Sharma, so B is my pet name, Bublé.
Oh, yeah, he's a great singer. So, okay, Bublé, it really was nice talking to you, and
you.
appreciate meeting you, and you coming and telling your story here to our community.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good hunting, my trading warrior sister.
And
best to you and yours. All righty, everyone. Bye. So that's a wrap. Thank you very much, Sanchita, and that's a wrap for us, and we'll see everyone tomorrow. Remember, don't just count your pips, whether you're scalping or swing trading, count your blessings.
Blessings, yes.
And we'll see everyone tomorrow. You're very welcome, Ola, Begang, and Didier, and Brock. We'll see everyone tomorrow, and good hunting the rest of the day. Adios. So that's a wrap.